Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of me condensing the Essen Spiel preview list into some games that you might be interested in. These are more ones that I'm interested in either getting hands on with, or if I wander past and it looks good, I'll demo it and I'll try and keep an eye out for it. There's so many games going to be at the event. There's 500 already announced, and I'm condensing that massively. So here's just over 20 that I think you should be interested in, and maybe it'll be the game of the event for you. Let's jump in and have a look at them. Let's start off with a game I can recommend to you. I actually got this for a friend at UK Games Expo, but I also demoed it at the event. This is After Us. So think humanity has ended, Planet of the Apes, and just in the middle there, that gap, that's where this is set. It's a deck builder kind of like no other. And what I mean by that is, this is the perfect image here to demonstrate, you are building your deck up of improving better types of monkeys, apes, etc. But when you draw your hand of 4, you're going to add those cards together in a pattern. So here, you're only going to get the things that are completely sort of surrounded. So in this one here, hopefully you can see the cursor. Let's zoom in even more. It's not that much bigger. You are going to get one of these resources here, as well as a battery. If you hadn't put those two cards together to make that a surrounded box, maybe you wouldn't be getting them. For instance, here, you're not getting this resource. Which means when you're drawing these cards, you're really having an interesting choice of which way round to put them. In one round, you're really going to want some of those blue starry like flowers, because that's what you're going to want to be spending in the market in a minute. Another time you need those batteries because they're allowing you to buy these special power tiles. Maybe in the next round you can use your batteries that you've just collected to draw 5 cards, so you've got a bigger round, and different things like that. I think a lot of people are going to like this. You've got the different types of monkeys. Some are to do with those batteries to get you those special abilities. Some are to reduce the cards in your deck, so you're thinning it, so you've got that great deck buildingness, so your better cards come out. And the way these cards improve is often they have more options to box things left and right, including in that bottom row, which is often bigger, better things. So maybe you're getting 3 batteries for one of the orange resource rather than 1-to-1. So little things like that, I can definitely recommend this one because it's got a lot of interesting choices. I think for me there's a slowness and AP potential in that choice, but I think a lot of people are still going to enjoy After Us. This is probably the heaviest game that's going to appear on my preview list because, well, I enjoy heavy games, you know, Brass Birmingham or whatever like that. I find they are fantastic and interesting experiences. They also don't get to the table as often. So therefore, what I'm trying to see in my list might not match you, but Nucleum, I think that's going to be how it's pronounced, is a interesting sci-fi, as you can see, it's going to be at Spiel Essen, that's why it's on the list. This is a transport sort of game. So let's see this. You've got this pretty nice looking map. Normally these sort of transportation games do not. It's got that cool Nucleum theming, and I don't know necessarily whether it's going to be for everyone, but there's going to be technologies, asymmetric faction abilities, and you're trying to obviously build out these routes. But the routes themselves have like action spaces on them, which you're going to be adding meeples onto. That just seems like an interesting twist from what I can tell. So it's not just necessarily a location. You've got to have the tracks, hence the transportation element. And there's plenty going on your player boards. I kind of said Brass Birmingham because I'm getting those vibes from this, to be honest. I'm getting like many different things. Like if you look down at these player boards, it looks like you've got plenty of things that you're going to want to add onto this board in specific locations. You're linking things up, so it does. And also you've got these sort of double sort of use cards, from what I can tell. or tiles. So I just feel like it's got a lot of those vibes, so a lot of people are going to be interested in this one. This is going to be an odd pick because I'm interested, but I'm more interested as sort of a creator rather than a gamer. I think a lot of people are going to really be running for this. The Lost Ruins of Arnak, the Missing Expedition expansion, adds co-op gameplay, adds some more stuff. I don't know if I need that. I don't have the base game. I've played it a number of times. I don't know if for me a co-op or like a 6-game co-op experience is something I need from that. I don't know if I'd ever sort of get that game, own that game, because I've played it enough personally. But I do think this is going to be probably one of the hottest releases at Spiel, so I couldn't not mention it. But it has, for me, has to be in just the I'm interested in it category rather than as in must-have. I'm sure for many of you out there, though, this will be in the must-have section. If you learned anything from watching the first part of my Essen Spiel preview, sort of condensing breakdown, whatever, it's that I like some tile placement, and Bamboo has that in at least some part of it. And also, wow, does it look super vibrant, super colourful and interesting. Not only that, in terms of you've got all of these different elements going on, giving you choices of where you're sort of going, what you're trying to achieve. There's also the option to play a basic standard mode and then flip your player boards over for an advanced mode. I really like games that do this, where it's first time you're playing, let's all be exactly the same. But once we're all up to speed, let's turn those over, and the advanced mode just adds a little bit more to the experience. And that's something that Bamboo actually has. So yes, it looks fantastic. But there's also one thing from the listing on Board Game Geek that sort of intrigues me a little bit, is that it's got action drafting as well. So not only have you got the choices of tiles that are being placed and what you're trying to do, you're also trying to maybe get ahead in that drafting order to get the action that you want, or just dealing with what's best that's left. So Bamboo certainly looks like an interesting one that I want to play before I want to buy. Galactic Cruise is one of the heavier games on this list. It's 3.8 out of 5 on Board Game Geek, but with that space theme and some really cool things like end-game bonuses that you're trying to do and a growing sort of map board that you're doing, I like the idea of this. Also, worker placement in terms of you're sending these workers out and doing 2 different actions. What are you doing with that person? Are you sending them to space? There's a lot of interesting choices going on here, and it looks like a lot of people having a good time playing it. Let's just go on here, because this is where I think it sounds super interesting. So yeah, you're taking 2 actions on an ever-expanding network. Launching shuttles, sending one of your workers into space as a pilot, or recalling your Earthbound workers to collect funding bonuses. Plenty of different things going on there that I think it sounds like it builds together really nicely. You've got some exploration in there from the sounds of things, but I don't know if that's just the theme. I like a lot of these ones where this player board really does sort of look like so much is going on. Here, there's like number of different like tracks and different things, and that just leads to so many good choices for players. So excited by Galactic Cruise. From a very heavy game now, let's go to a roll and write in terms of Walking in Buranno, the roll and write. Now, it's the vibrancy and the colours that are grabbing me here, rather than necessarily what's being shown off as the potential gameplay. And I've not played Walking in Buranno, the sort of original one, but it does seem like a good amount of, like, again, options. It looks like things that you're trying to set collect, like the different types of cats, the different coloured awnings. And it just looks like a fairly chilled, fun, good game with, again, the nice vibrancy of those houses and stuff like that. And it'll certainly be one of those ones, if I walk past this at the convention, I'm like, ooh, let's have a look at that. Next up, we have Unconscious Mind. Now, I did not back this and it went into crowdfunding. there was just something about it that was like, I need to get hands on with this, despite what I can only say to be fantastic looking visual appearance. From the two different artists, their two styles have sort of been smashed together, and it works because you've kind of got the unconscious and the conscious and the unconscious minds being drawn by the two different art styles. And that just looks fantastic. There's this whole thing about your player board looping round, and you're sort of trying to get rid of certain bits because then when you're getting round to it, you can do them. And that seems like a cool concept. And it feels like one of those games, once you've played it a couple of times, I think it'll be like, you're doing so much more than you were in your first. Because it's not going to be a light game, but it looks like one that your choices really do matter. And also, it looks fantastic. I mean, I'm sure they don't come pre-painted like that. But yes, Unconscious Mind, another relatively heavy one, but a 2-hour playtime, which is perfectly acceptable. Open drafting also here. That has me very interested in terms of it's probably from a market who is ending their turn first, gets first choice or something like that. I like that in games where, again, that draft becomes another choice. So yes, Unconscious Minds, it looks fantastic, and I want to play this one because it could go either way. It could be, I'm making lots of choices but they don't seem to matter, or it could be, everything matters, and that's cool. The next few are all from Korea board games, and, well, let's starting us off with Coffee Rush. So this looks a really well, first of all, these components look absolutely stunning, but almost this central board, which you are going to be using grid movements to actually move around and collect the stuff, just seems to have a real Splendor Duel vibe to me. Now, I don't think that's how it actually works out, but you are using these different grid movements to then move around this central board and collect the resources that you're going to be needing. And that seems a really awesome idea. And if we go back to the product page, 30 minutes, quite light. This sounds like it could be a fantastic filler from Korea board games. Yes, I'm a huge fan of tile placement games, and Tangram City, well, it looks fantastic from the box. I don't think the graphical design of the sort of actual game looks maybe quite as nice. But it does look quite cute, and also it's got tiles that aren't just squares and aren't hexagons, because some parts are triangular. I like that idea, and it's all about trying to fit as much of it as you can onto your board. I'm 100% game to try a tile placement game like this, and yeah, I said that it doesn't look maybe as fun as the box. Actually, looking at it, the art style of these tiles is just absolutely so cute and fun. I want to give this game a go. And last from this publisher is a game from Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling, two prolific designers, Terra Pyrmides. And while the box doesn't give too much away, you have this tile placement but with layers. So let's get a better look at it. Here we go. You actually can see like parts of the board building up, and that's a really neat feature because it gives that game some visual pop off the table, literally in height as things are being built. I'm just intrigued to sort of see this one in action. I don't know whether I need to demo it, maybe I just need to actually see it played. But the colours are really popping for me. I like the fact that these pyramids are growing in height. Look, you can see in the background this blurry bit here. It's only at 1 height, whereas these ones closer are at 2 height. So you're growing them throughout the game. You're hopefully trying to get yours to grow or whatever, or build up. I just really like the look of that and want to see it played. I don't necessarily need to play it myself. That's why it's just in the interesting category. Maybe I'll see it at the convention and go, damn, I need to play this. But let me know what you're thinking in the comment section below. Next up, we have a game from Cosmos that we don't know necessarily too much about, but Heroes for Sale is a 2-player auction bidding game. Traditionally, that doesn't normally work that well with 2 players because one person's going to outbid the other, but then maybe they don't have much for the next auction. How they balance that in a two-player game often I find can lead to some frustration, because it can mean you're just out for the rest of the game. Is there a way for that other player to sort of crawl back and gain sort of some traction, or if they do something too outlandish, a bit too much, are they just gone? I'd like to see how this goes. That's why I'm interested in it. I'd like to see some more of the artwork. It looks pretty cool from the box, so the cards are probably going to look cool as well, but I just want to see more before I say this is a must-have. That's why it's interesting, and you might want to check it out at Essen Spiel. Next up, we are taking a look at, and I'm going to butcher this name, Hextremadura. I think that's roughly right. You let me know in the comment section below how bad that was, though. Normally, I'm put off by games that are solo only, but with a 10 to 15 sort of time range, it looks like basically no setup. And if we have a look at some images here, well, there's only this one, I'm getting major Dorfromantik vibes from this. It looks like you've played this out, and this hexagon over here, this part here, needs, say, 3 water next to it, and that's trying to score for that. I'm intrigued to see what it's going to be like. It looks like you're trying to get around certain tiles, symbols. So it's just a quick play it, put the tiles out in 10 to 15 minutes. I could see myself giving that a go. I like Bandido for that exact reason. You just play some tiles, or in that game some cards, out on your own for 10 minutes and try and win. As long as it's not just look against a table to see how well you've scored, I think I could enjoy this one. I'm interested to see more of the game that I'm not going to try and pronounce again. Amritsar, the Golden Temple, is a worker placement game that I'm very much interested in, because A, it looks fantastic, but also one worker placement trait that I really like that's going to be in this game is workers of different types. Whether that's workers that maybe you can upgrade, or maybe the different coloured workers aren't specifically your workers, but a blue worker can go over here, whereas a white or yellow worker, from the looks of things, can't go over there. I'm intrigued to know how that works. You've also got these elephants that are carrying the cubes around the edge of the board. I don't know if that's 2 different players. I don't know, but it looks really cool in my opinion. It does look like there's quite a bit going on, but worker placement games normally do, and that touch of worker placement games where the workers do different things, I think that's just a great step up from just a normal worker placement game. Now, I don't know too much about the A.R.T project, and that's because there's not been huge amounts released about it, but it's capturing me for, well, 3 things if you include the artwork, but 2 major things. First of all, the co-op gameplay. Well, it sounds like everything you've got in this is completely shared among everyone. It's not like a pandemic where these are your cards, and to get this item or card over to someone else is super hard. It sounds like everything is communal in terms of the cards, so it's literally working together against the game as a combined effort. Combine that with the fact that there's this event or mission deck that you're sort of going through, and it sounds like each game could be a little bit different in the A.R.T project, as those missions could come out in a different order. And while it looks a fairly small, simplified board, well, that just maybe means that a lot more of the game is done around the table with the players, working out how best to do things, and there's some dice rolling in there to sort of give that splat of luck as well. Here we have 2 games kind of in the same family from Mandu Games, so I'm going to sort of touch on them both together. So it's Dracula versus Van Helsing, and also Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard. They're both 2-player only games. One plays in 20 minutes, the other one apparently plays 20 to 45 minutes. But they both have some really cool, interesting twists on normal stuff. So first of all, the Dracula one is trick-taking, as you're also trying to sort of get stuff and interesting bits in the middle of the board. Trick-taking is underutilized in games that are anything more than just trick-taking. So I'm interested to see this twist. I didn't necessarily enjoy the inside job, which tried to mix trick-taking with like deduction, but this one, well, this looks like it's doing something a little bit different, and it's quite a cool theme. So it's trick-taking, hand management, and area majority. I'm interested to see how that plays out. And the other game is also trick-taking, but this is a co-op one, and it's almost like the theme is novel-based, but it looks a little bit to me a bit like Fox in the Forest duet. Whether that is the case, I don't know. Let's try and get a picture of the board, because that would make much more sense. But you've got some chapters there. That's interesting. So different things are happening as you're playing through, but you've got this board here in the middle where you're sort of working down. And I thought maybe you're trying to move them back and forward, but it does look like you're actually trying to get through the chapters of this one. I'm intrigued. That's actually made me more interested in this one. Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard. Trick-taking is, like I said, I think it's underutilized. Do you? I think trick-taking being used as part of a game could be a really cool feature of these two from Mandu Games. We know very little about Diluvium, apart from it's a 4X game. It's a 4X game that plays in an hour, though. I don't know how they've done that. I don't know what they've simplified, what they've streamlined. I don't know much more, because that's the only thing I can see on Board Game Geek. No other pictures on this one. But I'd definitely be interested to give this one a go. It's got a bit of competition, because coming out soon-ish is Last Light, which is, again, a 4X game that's supposed to be really rapid, like an hour to an hour and a half. So it's got competition in the area, but I'd be interested to see what this one does to make it that quick. Now, why General Orders World War II is on the list is going to sound like a tangent, because I really like I think it's Paolo More, Seize Rome in 20 minutes, or World War II Blitzkrieg in 20 minutes, whatever those names are in slightly less jumbled up fashion. I really like those, the way they've abstracted something out but made a 20-minute game. This is not designed by him. This is by a different publisher completely. But in 30 minutes, you're supposed to basically play out at least this part of World War II across this map. And that's why I'm making that comparison there. I really like those two. So this one at least intrigues me to want to have a look. So you've got these cards that are going to be doing different things, like airstrikes, ground assaults, blitz, mobilization, ambush. You've got all that going on with quite an abstracted central board. I'm not entirely sure I like the fact that there are dice in it, but again, the short playtime means you've got maybe a bit more chance to get a demo in of this at Spiel. So I'm intrigued to see more of General Orders World War II, the most generic name you could probably come up with. A very quick one. Concordia was recently added to my collection, so I'm interested that there's a new map coming out for it. It's Roma and Sicily. Now, interestingly, the Sicily map actually has a luck element to it, where I think it sounds like there's an eruption that goes on or something, and there's some luck. But you can also play that map without that element, which I think is a really good design choice. So I'm intrigued to see what these add. I've got a number of maps for Concordia because I really like the game, and it's recently entered my collection, because before I'd always played friends' copies of it. But new map, I'm intrigued. While I can't speak for this version of Suspects because it's the new one, I can recommend the First Subjects series, or box, whatever they want to call it. And there's 3 more mysteries in this one for you to solve, so it could be another 3 cool mysteries to enjoy. Now, if you're not knowing this, it's one of those not quite escape room style games where you're working through a range of clues, in this case talking to different people, examining different locations, and also sort of interacting with different items, etc. A nice sort of fairly laid back, one that you can play through. You can talk to as many people as you want, but the more you talk to, I think, like, the less points you get. So how good a detective are you, that sort of thing. And then the answers, where you're sort of answering these very poignant questions, like, you know, not just who done it, maybe why they did it, etc., that you'll have tried to deduce. So I really liked the first box of suspects, and I'm excited by this second box as well. Fork is an interestingly named trick-taking game, but one that's interesting because as you go up in the player count, things can change in terms of, at 6 players, this is a team trick-taking game. And it's all about this food chain where foxes are wild because they'll probably eat everything, but you're trying to sort of work up the food chain while staying with the trick-taking logic, and that's a cool combination. Combo it with, as you can see, like down here, some of it is to do with extra scoring opportunities. Kale, for instance, has one as well. Foxes are wild, but 0 points there. I like the ideas put into Fork. Want to give it a go to see if they translate into actual goodness. And, well, that ends this part of the list. So I've gone through the first 500 games that are going to be at Spiel. I'm going to be doing more videos as more games are announced. Remembering, I've taken effectively the first 500 and condensed it to below 50 as a shortlist preview for you guys and for myself. I'm also, at the end of all of this, going to go through all of my lists and do a super short list of, like, my top 10 picks for the show. But I'm going to be going through this preview list that's on Board Game Geek periodically as a wave of new ones are released. 500 already, down to below 50. Hopefully giving you guys some amazing games to check out. Go and check out the must-haves video. That had better games in it, maybe. At least some of them I've played, so I can super recommend, and other ones I'm just even more excited about than the ones on this list. But until next time, have a great Essen Spiel 2023.